In this next segment, we're going to go through the 4 stages of adult learning. Now, the 4 stages of adult learning are basically this, which is it starts off with unconscious incompetent. Then it goes to conscious incompetent, then conscious competent, and then finally unconscious competent. Now, what are those 4 stages to learn? So every time you learn something new, like this program that you're doing here, this new position that you're taking on perhaps, or if you're starting a company or running a company, it can all be very overwhelming and you're learning new things. And as you learn new things, it'll go through these 4 stages. So it starts off with unconscious incompetent. So whatever task you're doing, if you've never done it before, you have no idea what you're in for. So you don't even know what you don't know. And in that sense, you're unconscious, incompetent, no idea what you're doing, and you have no idea what you don't know. Next is you start to learn. Maybe you have a mentor, maybe you start taking some training like this online training, and you start to understand the things you don't know. So now you are conscious and aware of the things that you don't know, but you still don't know how to do them. So you're still incompetent. So I know it sounds kind of harsh, but that's true, that's fair. So you're conscious now, but incompetent of doing it. Then once it goes from your head, so you know how to do it, or you've been taught, or you've been trained, and you're starting to learn how to do it, then you start to put it into practice. And as you start to put it into practice, you now start to become conscious, competent. So let's use an analogy here to sort of explain what that learning process is like. If you've learned how to drive a car, then it would be very similar to you're maybe sitting in the back seat or you've never seen a car before. All right, so now you're completely incompetent. You've never driven a car. You don't know how to drive a car. You don't even know cars exist. So you're completely unconscious, incompetent. But then you see a car, you see somebody driving, and you start asking questions. Well, how do you drive? How does this work? How does that work? Now you become conscious incompetent. You still never touched the steering wheel or pressed any of the pedals, but you have the idea of how to do it. So when you were a little kid, when I was a little kid, I watched my dad drive. The whole time while I was growing up, I was conscious of how to drive, but I was incompetent, never knew how to do it. Then you turn 16, you start putting your hands on the wheel. It's this whole process. It can be very overwhelming. It's all new to you. It's what we're talking about of getting out of your comfort zone. So in that other segment that we're talking about in getting out of your comfort zone, now when you're getting into conscious incompetent, you're starting to head out of your comfort zone. You're starting to push it and you're starting to try. So as you do that, now you're into your conscious competent, and in that phase is where we're talking about this zone of success where you keep pushing yourself and trying to master this new skill. And the final stages, or the progression from stage 3, which is conscious competent, to unconscious competent, is where most of the repetition happens, or that's how you get from stage 3 to finally unconscious competent. What does unconscious competent mean? Unconscious competent means that you can do it without thinking. It becomes second nature to you. So if you've been driving like myself for many years, if not decades, now you can drive. It's quite simple. You're driving, you're not supposed to do this, but you could talk on the phone, you could eat a muffin, you could be shifting gears, you could be taking corners. All these, it becomes so easy for you that you now become unconscious of it. So it means it becomes second nature, and you're very competent at doing that. So that's how you would shift over and how you get from conscious competent. So I'll give you an example of conscious competent. When you took your driver's test, you passed your driver's test because you were conscious competent. You had to really concentrate when doing it, and it took up all of your energy. To get from conscious competent to unconscious competent, what needs to happen is lots and lots of repetition. And as you keep doing it, that's why if you're limited in your meetings, like you don't want to blow meetings with clients in front of clients, to get those repetitions in, that's where visualization comes in. And that's an important component of that, is to go through that multiple times. So when we were talking about athletes and Olympic athletes, when they were repeating it over and over again, they were trying to push their mind and their skill set of learning, which is a physical learning. It can be both mental and physical, or just physical. But that transition from conscious competent to unconscious competent is repetition. And using visualization over and over again will be just as effective to get you down to that next level. So those are the 4 stages of learning, which we'll go through as well. And that's why I would encourage you to repeat and keep going through a lot of these activities over and over and over again. I'll leave you with this final point. One of the things that I used to do when I was in the military and I was training on boot camp is I would train my recruits, and we would go through what we call drill. We'd go through like whatever, like weapons handling or certain thing that we need to learn. And I would teach it, and then I'd get them to practice it. And we would practice over and over and over again to the point where I could see that the candidates were incredibly exasperated. And they eventually, one would put up their hand and would say, how much longer are we going to do this? And I would say to them, we're going to do this until you cannot bear it anymore and you're completely sick of it. And then we'll pick that as the halfway point. That is being able to turn a task from conscious competent to unconscious competent. And mastering these types of skills in business, it will lead you to success.